Cenk started off very rightly talking about how Republicans and Donald Trump seem unhinged by perpetuating these ideas that dogs and cats are being eaten and that women are having post-birth abortions. And the first thing that Michael does when he comes on here is perpetuate these exact claims. Look, you guys can do this until you're blue in the face.
With evidence.
I don't know how to convey the extent to which when Republicans say this kind of stuff, it does not resonate with normal people. And you seem crazy. And Donald Trump went out there on stage, got laughed at by the entire nation. And then, Michael, you come on here and you do the exact same thing. So please, triple down on this. Quadruple down on this. Make this election a referendum on this bogus notion that women are executing their babies after they're born. I beg of you, we'll see how that works out.
Okay.
Here's the thing. It would be one thing if Trump had a dismal debate and the right-wing ecosystem lamented it, nursed their bruised egos, and moved on. But because they traffic in the same pool of denialism as Trump, because they can never admit fault like Trump, because they are as deluded as Trump, what we are left with was not only a disastrous debate performance, but also proof that the rest of the right is just as bad as he is. I mean, honestly, the last thing that I would want to do if my candidate turned in a performance like Trump's is to align myself closer with him by repeating the same utter bullshit that he spewed on that debate stage. No matter how hard these right-wingers like Michael Knowles and Tommy Lahren try, no, you do not sound normal when you claim that migrants are eating pets. No, you don't sound normal when you claim that women are executing their babies after they're born. No, you don't sound normal when you brag about the world's dictators or can't offer anything beyond the concept of a plan, or, of course, lose your skull because someone spoke an ill word of the Holy Grail, your crowd size. It's bad enough that your candidate does it. The fact that the rest of these sycophants and mouthpieces voluntarily opt to do the same is a testament to the rot that has pervaded the entirety of the GOP. So look, I'm not here to tell Republicans to stop spewing this stuff. It's the opposite. I will gladly broadcast every time they do it. I will gladly help them spread the message that they want to spread, because while that stuff might appeal to the farthest fringes of their base, it really doesn't appeal to normal people. It makes them look creepy and unhinged and extreme. And if that's the message they want to send fewer than 2 months out from the election, far be it from me to stand in their way. Here's another moment from Piers' panel. I think what's so interesting is that Tommy brought up this idea that the onus was on Kamala Harris to present some vision for the future. And if we think about this election, as far as Trump is concerned, is entirely predicated on seeking vengeance for what happened on January 6th. He wants to release the January 6th insurrectionists who've been prosecuted, who've been indicted and charged. He is solely focused on getting retribution for those people, for what happened on January 6th. He was asked in this debate whether he would sign a nationwide abortion ban multiple times, refused to answer it. You want to talk about a vision for the future? He won't talk about what he's offering for the future. He's solely focused on relitigating events of the past. Ah, yes, the responsibility lies solely with Kamala Harris to offer a vision for the future, because that's what Republicans are concerned about, the future. The Make America Great Again party. All the while, their standard bearer is singing the J6 national anthem and promising to release the insurrectionists from prison and continuing to perpetuate the big lie that the 2020 election was stolen. But sure, these are the people for whom a forward-looking agenda is very high on the priority list. Got it. Consider, too, Kamala does talk about a vision for the future. She does talk about how she'll sign a bill codifying Roe into law when she's president. She does talk about how she'll sign the bill securing the border that Trump killed to preserve the border as a campaign issue into law when she's president. She does talk about how she'll create an opportunity economy by giving a $50,000 tax deduction for small businesses, how she'll enable young people to build wealth by offering first-time homebuyers a $25,000 grant for down payments on a home. You want to talk about plans? Her entire campaign is grounded in them. Meanwhile, Trump has been asked 12 separate times for his plan on childcare, and here's the word salad that he offered up.
If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. You know, I was we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that, because look, childcare is childcare. couldn't, there's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are going on in our country. Because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. We're going to be taking in trillions of dollars, and as much as childcare is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking in. We're going to make this into an incredible country that can afford to take care of its people, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world. Let's help other people. But we're going to take care of our country first. This is about America first. It's about make America great again. We have to do it because right now we're a failing nation. So we'll take care of it. Thank you. Very good question. Thank you.
If anyone could tell me what the fuck those words mean, I'm all ears. But until then, perhaps the Republicans should spare us the grandstanding about how important it is that their candidates present a clear and convincing vision for the future when their candidate is Donald Trump. Here's one last moment from Piers. I've sat here listening to Dan, to Michael. I believe Tommy made the same point about how Donald Trump has to fire his advisors. When he comes back for the second debate, he can't listen to these people who steered him wrong. Does anybody actually think that Donald Trump took the advice of any of his advisors? Does he think that he's disciplined enough to take any advice and not just revert back to exactly who he is, exactly the guy that we've seen for the past nearly a decade? The second he's poked, he is so easy to bait that you could dangle a cookie in front of a 4-year-old and they would have more discipline than Donald Trump. This notion that his advisors are responsible for what happened on that debate stage is a joke. It's also, you look at someone like Ronna McDaniel, for example. She was fired as RNC chair because Donald Trump always needs to blame somebody for his own shortcomings. The reason that Republicans lost was not because of Ronna McDaniel or the RNC. It's because people aligned with Donald Trump, aligned with the America First agenda, didn't present themselves well to the American people because they're lunatics and they lost. But Donald Trump can't take responsibility for anything. And so somebody else had to get thrown under the bus as the result of that. What we saw on that debate stage was not the fault of his advisors, was not the fault of anybody on his team, was not the fault of anybody but Donald Trump. He cannot take responsibility, which makes it especially ironic that he's running to represent the party of personal responsibility. Here's the thing. It can never be Trump's fault. If we've learned anything over the last 8 or 9 years, it's that everyone else is to blame and Donald Trump is perfect. And so now, rather than simply acknowledge objective reality and recognize that Trump lost the debate because he is incompetent and impulsive, the new talking point is that he was poorly prepared and ill-served by his advisors. As if Donald Trump would ever actually listen to the counsel of an advisor and not simply descend into exactly the kind of meltdown that is as predictable as the sun rising in the morning. The notion that someone else is to blame for Trump's behavior is a joke. But of course, because the right-wing media ecosystem is designed to prop up Donald Trump, no matter what he does or says, he'll always have these clowns out here making excuses for his idiocy. Republicans love clutching their pearls about affirmative action. This is the ultimate form of it. Trump can fail and fail and fail, but they'll always make excuses for him. They'll always save him. Not because he deserves it, not because the right is some type of meritocracy, but because they've decided to create a little safety net for their man-child of a candidate. So look, while this panel on Piers Morgan was absurd, it's not a one-off. This is a perfect microcosm for the right-wing media ecosystem. Not only do they defend an abject moron, but remember, no one is forcing them to do this. They've made the conscious decision, the voluntary decision, to show up on air and defend a guy who took to national TV in front of 60 million people and did this.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
So if Michael Knowles and Tomi Lahren and Piers Morgan want to twist themselves into pretzels to defend that guy, by all means, I won't do anything to stand in their way. Before you go, just a quick note, if you'd like to see more of my content, which is always free of advertising, sponsorships, and paywalls, please make sure to subscribe to this channel using the subscribe button right here on the screen. And if you'd like to support my work even further, you can grab a copy of my instant #1 New York Times selling book, Shameless, available for sale right now. That link is also on the screen. Thanks so much for watching.